That's where Orange Sky was formed. At
Nice.
my very, very lowest, waking up every morning and saying, Lord, it's really only you and me.
Very nice.
Because, look, I have nothing. I have no car. All my friends have cars. I have no place to live. All my friends have places to live. I have nothing.
Boom. So, guys, you back with Grease Talk, episode 4, I believe, Casey?
Yep.
Episode 4, and we have the iconic, legendary Nigel Rojas here. with us.
Nigel!
Boom, bang,
Iconic.
bang, 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 bang.
Hey, fellas, glad to be here with y'all. I don't know about the iconic and the legendary thing, but it's just me, you know what I mean? Glad to be here with y'all and, hold a little space and talk a little bit.
So can you tell me, like, a bit about how you got into rock and roll? Because when I listen to your stuff, I think you're a calypsonian, but you just happen to put calypso on top of rock and reggae because you keep your Trinidadian accent, and it's really inspiring to me because I am seeing myself going down that road as well. So
Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
I mean, the thing is that I'm genetically inclined to be a calypsonian. You know what I mean? In traditional rock and whatnot, people tend to have a different type of voice. And even in reggae, certain sultry, smooth type of voices. And the kind of voice that I actually wish that I had. You know what I mean? When I listen to my voice, sometimes I find it sound like dog and cat fighting on a galvanized roof.
come on, man. you're
Sometimes, no,
bullshit.
seriously, sometimes I have my moments where I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. But most of the time, it's like, no, I'm genetically inclined to sing rap, so.
No,
to
but
be
you have
quite
a
honest.
unique voice like for Bob Dylan. Like when you hear Bob Dylan, just had that
Yeah,
distinct
it is.
song.
Well,
Like the
wow.
minute you hear your
Wow.
tone,
It's a
it's like
very unique voice.
that is fucking Nigel.
That's amazing, man. Well,
Can't be
wow,
mistaken.
Dylan, I mean, you can't get better than that. I'll switch this off. You can't get better than that.
Yeah, you can't be mistaken for nobody else.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm a blues man by nature. And bluesmen, historically and traditionally, sing their own songs. You know what I mean? So I write my own lyrics and I sing those words.
Wow.
I'm a guitar player, so anywhere that I fall short as a vocalist, I could definitely pick up on the guitar. And I mean, so I think my guitar was compensation and for my vocals. Yeah.
Okay, so who really inspired you? Like, I know you have the rock vibe in you, and you pull from a lot of different foreign artists, but from a local perspective, like, who gave you that initial push? Like, yeah, like, my voice is enough. Because I come across a lot of artists who sing within local accents, and they don't feel like it's enough. They don't feel like it's vibes. They feel like it's clunky or stupid. Like,
I think all artists criticize themselves harshly. So that's one thing that we could establish right there. All artists, criticize themselves harshly, so they'll never really think it's enough or good enough or whatnot. That's the beauty of art. You get to exchange it. So you get to, somebody has to receive it, and that validates their response is what validates your effort.
vibes. So, because and this could be a weird comparison, but I think you took what Shadow did and just evolved it even more.
Wow. Shadow, boy. Well, Shadow is my godfather. We love Shadow. That's one of my heroes for sure. And I talk about from very young. He's
Nice.
a voice and a spirit and a being, physicality, kineticism, everything about him. His whole art, the darkness, the shadow, the scary guy,
Yeah.
the
Midnight Robber.
the dude, that dude. You know what I mean? So from young, he was the metal, he was the rock of Calypso for me.
You'll be surprised how much people could never actually understand that. Like when I tell people I see Shadow as a rock guy, a rock god in
That he's
Tobago,
rock.
they don't believe it. They're like, Shadow?
Absolutely. I remember going to a Calypso tent once when I was young. My father's a real Calypso aficionado, and so were my uncles and things. So we used to go to Calypso tents and I was very fortunate to see some of the masters, you know what I mean? And Shadow was one, and I remember seeing Shadow come out in a skeleton outfit.
Vibes.
You know what I'm saying?
I remember that.
And I remember watching that skeleton outfit. I can't remember what he was singing that year. I'm a stranger, whoever it was. But everybody went crazy, and it's Shadow. I just stand up there with my mouth open, and 20 years later, the singer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers is on stage at Woodstock. I think it was, 90 what. And he's wearing the exact,
Same
thing.
and
outfit.
the people are
Wow.
tripping. And I'm just like, look, Shadow.
Actually, Casey probably have a really interesting story about something similar to that because we heard that Shadow taught Michael Jackson when they came down here with the Jackson 5 how to work the stage, Casey.
Yeah, it was Shadow.
Wouldn't be surprised, but I mean, Michael's father, Joe Jackson,
Real
was a slave
fast.
driver too. I think he would have been working some good stage. The fact he reached Trinidad, I mean, they were already famous, you know what I mean? But Shadow might have showed him some stuff. I have no doubt about that, because anything he could get from Shadow wouldn't necessarily be limited to calypso vibes or whatever else it is, you know. I've
It's just
had
that the North Stand and Grandstand concept was very daunting now. And it's something I don't. Well, you played on stages all over the world, and
Grandstand too.
yeah, I'm not sure.
You're
if you
very
ever
right about how
experienced a
daunting
stage
it
like
is.
that now.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, in 2014, well, I did a collaboration with Bungie Garland in 2013 called Differentology,
Yeah,
right?
that was a mega hit,
We
man.
want to find out more about that.
Well,
Yeah,
anyway,
continue.
well, I'll fast forward and just tell you, well, the last night of that actual, I think it was 56 shows that we did for that carnival, for that season.
Wow.
56
The
shows,
last
yeah?
night was at the Dimashqua show. We just did the Brian Lara party and went straight to Dimashqua to play.
Mad.
And it's Bungie and myself alone on the grandstand stage.
Wow.
Okay, facing the grandstand full of people. And that was the first time that I really was able to really receive the grandness and not just the aesthetic of the grandstand and why they call it the grandstand, but the space. And as you say, how daunting, you know, it is, because it's just me and Bungie walking on to go and perform this thing, and I looking around thinking, well, where
Yeah.
the props?
Yeah.
Where the
Nothing
normal
else.
things you'll see on a stage. It's not a stage, you're in the desert, man, in the wilderness, and
Wow.
you better perform, you know what I mean?
That's
And,
right.
and so we did, you know, thanks to him. Big up to Bungie.
Yeah, man. Big
So-
up. That
Big up to
collaboration.
Bungie Garland,
Was
yes.
it Sheriff that produced that?
Absolutely. Big up to Sheriff Mumbles as well for his genius
Yeah.
in the production and everything else. And, you know, it was my first true soca experience in terms of being part of something that was a soca hit.
Yeah.
You know, and that was like a tsunami and whatnot. And it was just great. Such a privilege to be able to tour with them locally and to be in the van and be in the bus and be in the rehearsal room and being in the space and seeing how they operate. And I could tell you, Bungie and Fiona are amazing. That's like Shaolin disciples.
Performance.
Yeah.
Shaolin disciples in terms of everything. And,
Well done.
you know, awesomeness. I was really glad to have been able to be a part of that. And what I'm saying is the grandstand was huge.
Huge.
Okay.
Nice.
So-
Nice. Good to know. So you mentioned something about when you was young, listening to Shadow and stuff. What are other influences you had that you would find yourself drawn to then?
Well, I was lucky, as I said, for my father to be a music lover.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So even though he himself was not a performer type, he had music in him. You know, he played the flute and he played cuatro. My mother played piano.
Wow.
We had a piano in the house and we had a lot of records and stuff like that. So it was four of us, me, my two sisters, and me and Nicholas. Nicholas is also in Orange Skies,
Right,
you know,
yeah,
bass man and
Basically.
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Vocalist.
Literally my backbone and the wind beneath my wings.
Yeah.
You know, no, not being sentimental is the truth.
Nicholas.
No Nicholas, no nothing.
Yo, we
no
got put in
Orange
the
Skies.
teary eyes and the violin. I don't.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, but what I'm saying is that, you know, what were we talking about?
Right. So the type of music that you were more drawn to and influenced by when you were younger.
Yeah, my father had a lot of records and stuff, and so we will be able, and he left it there for us to use. He was
Nice.
never that fussy guy.
Don't
Don't touch my
stuff.
stuff. Actually, he seemed to be
Encouraged.
pleased.
Yeah.
He seemed to be pleased when he came home and he saw us in the music room,
Show interest.
listening to music and whatnot. And them days, you have no internet, you have no nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And we had wall-to-ceiling mirrors.
Sorry to
at-
say this, but next cartoon host meme gonna come up for you.
It's all good.
Yeah.
And you know, he would be pleased to walk in the house and see us sitting on there listening to Santana or Bee Gees
Right.
or Michael Jackson and them, or, you know.
So it's a
whoever
very
else like that.
diverse influence you had.
Well, I'll tell you, in terms of the calypso side of it, he had Sparrow, the Kitchener, all that kind of stuff. And in terms of reggae, he had Bob Marley and Jacob Miller.
That's the 45s and records.
Yeah, and the EPs and the long plays as well.
Nice.
So my life was music. Our life was music. If you listen to music when you're waiting on your parents to go to school in the morning after you dress, you're putting on a record.
So that's like a staple for you. Like you
Yeah,
get
you
that
reach home in
every
the
day.
afternoon, you put on music. If music not playing,
You find it.
something wrong, or the
Place
TV
to-
had to be on or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the music room, you know, you're there. So the influences came fast and furious, and it came from all directions.
So
It
wait,
came from Elvis. It came from Sparrow. It came from, Santana. It came from Fatso. what's his name? You know, the thing, Fela Kuti. Everything I'm talking about, we had Nigerian music home, we had everything. So it was a broad stage, but in my life, I would say that the people that really stood out from that broad range of people would have been Bob Marley.
How old are you?
I'm 49.
You're 49. So when you were a teenager going into your 20s, like how was the landscape of music back then? Or like the culture, like how was it?
Teenager going into my 20s, I turned 18 in 1989.
Nice, man.
So, and I went to London one time to spend over a year and a half. So basically, that was the landscape that I experienced at that point in time.
And when it came
a
back?
new landscape that was already mixing in my peripheral subconscious of what I just left behind.
Yeah.
You know? And you know, when you live 18 years in one society, you're here like this, you're up against the wall like this, and you're seeing the inside of the brick. But as soon as you get a chance to step back, all of a sudden you see the whole brick. And then you see the other bricks. And you see the whole wall.
Realize it's a wall.
And that's what I was. It was an amazing experience.
So that defined you and how you relate to the local culture?
I wouldn't say it defined me. I just say that it allowed me to see everything on a broader scale. And then, of course, in London, there's such a huge West Indian
culture.
There's such a huge West Indian culture.
The diaspora
and
very big
whatnot.
out there.
Yeah, the diaspora and whatnot. So, I mean, you're never too far from home if you go to certain parts of London. In those days, you go to Brixton, you go to Shepherd's Bush, you're going to see Trinidad flag hanging outside houses.
Yep.
You go to the market, you're seeing dashing, you're seeing callaloo, you're seeing roti selling. You know what I mean? So you always have
same.
that comfort zone. No, it might taste exactly the same, but sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
Or sometimes not. It'd be garbage sometimes. I could attest to that.
Well, what happened, I found in London, was there was a sort of Caribbean fusion that took place. The same way that a Trinidadian will go to England at first and will dismiss all accents as, you have an English accent.
Yeah.
Even if it's Scottish, Irish, Welsh, Manchester, he would just say, yeah, it's an English accent.
Yeah, because when you land, they all sound the same. Because I remember the first time I went, everybody was singing like from Charlie Brown, like wah, wah.
So therefore, you get the, where you from, mate? I'm from Trinidad. Oh, what part of Jamaica is that?
Yeah, oh, God, yeah. Free one time.
No, but it's not a bad thing. It's that's how they perceive things. It's the same thing as me. A man might say, hey, lad, I'm from Glasgow. You want a drink? It's like, hey, Glasgow? Hey, man, which part of London is that? And that's an offense. So it's the same thing. It's like, you know what I mean? Which part of Jamaica is Trinidad from?
Yeah.
But eventually people figure it out. The people that want to go further into understanding what it is. But it's very easy to group the Caribbean together. It's very easy to say, all right, well, this is from the islands.
It's like states in the
Trini,
Caribbean.
Schmini, St. Vincent, Jamaica,
But
whatever, they're all the same.
Nigel,
Boom, Caribbean.
I'm glad you make that statement, because what I wanted to find out, when you started composing your own music, was it that you were trying to create a Caribbean sound, a Trinidadian sound? What it is you were trying to do with your music?
Well, I wasn't trying. The first thing was that I just wanted to be as honest as possible, because that's what struck me. With the artists that really affected me in my life profoundly, what I picked up and detected from them, the one common denominator was a certain honesty, a fundamental commitment to that honesty in their music. I felt it. It's a frequency. It's not for everyone. Not everybody going to pick it up. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way, right? It's for some people to pick up on. And I picked up on it. And I decided to write music because this is what I wanted to do. This is what I was feeling to do, to express myself. But I didn't decide for it to be any kind of way. It just happened that way. Well, everything that you got from me, man, if I die tonight, everything that you got from me is honest.
Authentic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Authentic is another word, but
I appreciate that.
It's me.
So you came back at what, 21, 22?
I came back at 20.
20. You come back at 20. Your view on you has changed. What Trinidad is has changed to some degree.
I'm also a loser because I left university. I'm also a rebel because you come back here with that dreadlocks.
That's the thing.
I've also gone mad
Fire!
because I'm smoking marijuana every day.
Let them know.
And Nigel, who should be in university or working in a bank or working in an insurance company, is going up to the spring with his dreadlocks and his guitar, picky head, and coming home with the eye red and full of ideas I want to sing songs to people.
Yeah.
I'm mad. I've gone mad.
No,
I've
but
gone mad.
going
that's
mad.
what I was talking about, the landscape of Trinidad and like how they would perceive you and what you were doing. Because I mean, all of us here are musicians, and we encountered that when we we left and we came back, because it literally changed you when you leave this country, and this is all what you know, and you come back and you see there's a big world out, and you come back with all these ideas and aspirations and understanding that you're not meant to be a part of the system. But then you come back to your tribe and they're treating you a different way. They want to ostracize you because you're not going with the hood.
Well,
How
my
you
tribe,
dealt with
if
that?
you consider my tribe the family, this is where the irony is. My tribe would be the family, not necessarily my brothers and sisters, but the older people who are accustomed to a traditional thing. He went to university, he came back home, he got a job. He met a girl, they got married,
settled down.
the thing, and they had 3 children, and the 3 children made first communion, and you know what I mean? It just goes. That was the narrative, the usual, typical thing. What happened with me was, he left university,
Yeah.
he came back home. What happened to his head? What's that?
Oh yeah.
And what he's playing? I know he played guitar, but what?
And he
he's
going in the bush
what?
too?
Songs? Oh God! In the spring. So where does he go every day? What? In the spring? Oh God! Call him madhouse.
Right, they probably blaze you for that one.
No, but I understand
No, but how
their
you
standpoint.
withstand
I
that?
apologize.
How you withstand
for-
that? Like,
Yeah,
how
how
you
you
withstanding
push
that?
through
You're
that. How you
right.
push
You're
through
right.
That is because that's your own people,
You're
your
right.
parents, and that's
You're right, music.
how you going through that.
You write music and you make a plan
Write
and you
music.
say, and this is me telling you this most profoundly and most personally. You make a plan that one of these days, the same music I'm going to use to tell you how much I love you. One of these days, I'm going to use this same music here to tell you how much I appreciate everything you've done for me. One of these days, you're going to see me eat and live and be completely functional in society.
Wow.
And if I'm not rich, respect will be my currency. And you
Nice.
will be proud of me one day.
Yeah.
One day.
And
Yeah.
that's what it was. It fed into what I was doing. I needed it. That was the
Wow.
coal in my freaking pot. That was the wind in my sail to now have to prove something. Otherwise, I might have get bored with music and start to carve something or do something else creatively. You know, and what kept me in music was that, all right, I will show you.
Yeah.
So how did you make it? Because to me, like, I have a lot of guys inspire me to do music. You know, from the Bob Dylans to the Otis Reddings, like all of the greats. But I never had an opportunity to sit with these men like Lil Richard. I would have loved to have a conversation with these men. Different. How the fuck you went from zero to climb that mountain?
That particular character you just called there is a different story altogether. That's a whole podcast
No,
by
but
itself.
I never got the opportunity to talk to these people. But I'm talking to you because you're somebody who really inspire me. Like how you went from all that, like that emotional trauma, coming back to Trinidad and people saying, "Yo, this nigga ain't gonna do nothing." Like, where did it change for you that you was in the Springs writing songs, so you traveling the world? Like that's what I want to know.
Yep.
Well, you already have this cloak of he's going to do well because everybody else around you did well. My father come from the absolute ghetto in Vermont. My father come from extreme poverty. Well, I'm not joking. My father walked out of the house, went to Venezuela at 5 years old. Mother didn't feed them eggs until 9 because he didn't want them to get a taste for it because
Wow.
he couldn't afford it.
Couldn't afford that.
First egg is 9 years old.
Wow.
That kind of stuff. You know, my father is a hardcore.
Make it by any means.
Yeah, and he experienced poverty, but yet he got scholarships. Got a scholarship in the St. Mary's, got a scholarship out to St. Mary's. You know, decided to go back and teach,
Awesome.
and then became an insurance. He went to study insurance at the time, and then took off. The insurance thing in the 70s happened to be a really good thing, and he formed a company with a couple of guys, and he was a multimillionaire within a few years.
Okay, so
Wow.
walk me through the process of like how you went from meeting your band. So you're in the Springs, you found your band members somewhere along the lines, and then you just took off because a lot of people
Yeah,
want to
tell
know
us
that. Like,
about-
I want to know where, like, how that happened.
The
All right.
induction. Or
Because
So,
I'm
like-
tired of hearing your Rags Riches story with all the actual rags now.
Well, there's no riches. That's the first thing you need to know. This is rags to
doing okay.
rags with respect.
Rags with respect, yes.
Yeah.
For your art.
Well done.
There's no riches, bro. But basically, at that point in time, as I say, to go from the part where you're in the spring writing music, you go through that typical frivolous, youthful vibe where you have 3-4 bands that you jam with. You jam with fellas. You're meeting people.
All right.
You're
Who
meeting
were
people.
some of the bands? Who were some of the bands in that transition?
Bands that I formed. Or bands that I was with together with other people. Orange Peel Groove, Lucifix, John This Eye,
Yeah.
and then Orange Sky. But those bands were me sharpening my teeth on the cage
Right.
as a songwriter. Me sort of, going through the motions of becoming a better musician, a better songwriter, better artist, better performer, and picking up on all and everything. So those were very cherished times. And then, of course, when Orange Sky was formed, I was homeless.
Dang.
Really?
What?
Yeah,
Oh, wait,
1996, I was homeless. It was right after John Desai. In John Desai, we had a record deal with Robert Amar.
Oh, yeah.
God bless him. And we recorded an album.
Is this the album Tony Mason played some of the tracks on?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So that album, we recorded at Amar Studio. And for the duration of that time at Amar Studio, we had a house next door to
Wow.
the studio
In
to
Song,
live in.
Song Basin.
Song Basin. And you wake up every day and you jam with your buddies in the morning.
Yeah.
And you hold a medi.
Nice.
And then after lunch, you go and you eat something. And then you get to the studio for 4. And you start rehearsing and then recording. Heaven. Absolute heaven.
Sounds like a.
And then the people around you and the support team around you is saying, yeah, man, you're going to do good. Yes, sir. And, you reach to this building every day and you've seen the limousines and you've seen everything and you're saying, well, yeah, the support system is strong.
Yeah.
So I've never felt that secure, as a musician. That was the days when you felt secure and you felt like something would happen. However, things didn't really work out in terms of that deal.
And he became homeless.
And, yeah, I was nowhere to live.
So wait, for how long? A year, 2 years, 3 years?
It wasn't that long, thank God, because I have good family.
Well,
My grandmother,
Nigel, this one now gonna ask you, what would have?
What level of homelessness?
Yeah, because like if you, I know that if you turn your back on your family,
Yeah.
it really have no.
No, well, I
going
never
back.
had to dumpster dive or anything.
Yeah, in your mind, you just think that you can't go back, even though like your parents will love you no matter what. Now,
My parents were always there. I never had to dive in garbage ban, or in bins or anything like that. But homeless, meaning you have nowhere to live. You have no place of your own to call your own.
yeah, when you're
And,
supposed,
you
they're
had the
supposed to
mercy
be a
of your
career
parents or
something.
whoever else. You know what I mean? So my grandmother passed away in '96, and my uncle was living in the house in this nice 3-bedroom house in Belmont, Bella Road, Belmont. And he said, "Hey man, come and move in with me." And I moved in with him. God bless him. That's Uncle Pat Clark. And I moved in with him, and that's where Orange Sky was formed. At my
Nice.
very, very lowest, waking up every morning and saying, "Lord, it's really only you and me."
Very nice.
Because look, I have nothing. I have no car. All my friends have cars.
Hey.
I have no place to live. All my friends have places to live.
Shit.
I have nothing, and everybody else seems to be thriving. What's wrong with this picture? Is something wrong with me?
You had friends around that time?
Plenty
Like
of friends.
actual friends?
Yeah, of
Okay,
course.
vibes. Because
But-
because most people would separate themselves once they see you started to plummet.
Nah, I'm not a bitter person. I really feel happy for everybody else who does well and whatnot. I have never lost touch of the fact that I chose this path.
Right.
I chose this path.
Remember that.
I was warned against this. I was warned against
Who
going.
won you?
My own father.
Wow.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So tell us about the induction of Orange Sky here now and why rock.
Well, rock was
I mean-
part of the records that my dad had.
It's second nature now.
It wasn't metal,
Yeah.
but there was some rock there too. And then, of course, it was something in my spirit. I heard Queen,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and I heard the Beatles and like Rolling Stones and stuff like that. And there was something there that was not Caribbean, and there was something there with the chords and with the attitude,
Fierceness.
Yeah,
So you
and
was
it's
a
like so
rebel.
fair.
You was a rebel long time because
Well,
I
it's not
feel
just-
like
it's-
I feel like the rock and roll kids per se, if that's the right way to say it, the rock and roll kids were kind of rebellious,
Yeah.
and that's why they would gravitate to that type of music. So is it that you were a rebel growing up?
If a rebel means
You define that now, Casey.
Yeah.
being on your own trip and making your own decisions and liking what you like, and from very early realizing that other people will try to influence what you like or not. Yeah, if that's what a rebel is, fine, and going your own way and doing
Yeah,
your own thing.
definitely rebelling against the herd, rebelling against the trends. I mean,
Sure.
yeah,
Rebellion tends to imply
Anarchy.
No, it tends to imply a contrarian point of view to something else. You say blue? Nah, it's red.
Yeah.
And I that wasn't me. My rebellion was, hey, set me free so I could surely something about it.
Yeah.
I always knew that I was meant to do this.
Okay. So Orange Sky is formed now. You're in your uncle's house.
I'm in my uncle's house and he's cooking 2 meals a day for me. The only job I have is at the Hilton on a Sunday playing guitar for $150 or so, or $300 I think it was.
And that's what, 1996.
96.
Wow.
So Orange Sky's first show was April 1996. But before we got to the first show, I'm in Belmont, I'm writing these songs. John Lisa is done. 2 of the members move away, one in France, one in England. So I'm completely rock bottom. No money, no nothing, nowhere to live, just there with my guitar, my surfboard, and, as you say, friends, to keep the spirit up, you know what I mean? And
Standing here with Fred, who says he was greatly impacted by the gushing of oil. Can you tell us a little more of what you saw?
I sure can. I was sitting on my front porch, grabbed a beer, and...
M to the power 4.